Next up on your schedule, have your first appointment on your ground floor unit as one of the rare units that have frontage to Harbor Boulevard. That was a video I did in 2023 on a different kind of property. They're work-live residences where you can run a business downstairs, and instead of driving on the freeway to get home, you simply walk up one flight of stairs. These types of buildings started showing up in suburban Orange County around 2005, all the way to 2012, and continue to be in demand to present day. So why did builders stop making them? In this video, we'll explore what happened. What happened to work-live lofts? When I was a child of the 80s, I thought I ran into the coolest property in the world when I visited downtown LA. A friend brought me down to Little Tokyo, and the family that we visited had a restaurant downstairs, and I thought it was so cool. We're going into the restaurant. It was completely closed. Never seen a restaurant like that before. And then we're going up a stairway, and we're headed up to his cousin's bedroom, which happened to be part of, I think it was a 2-bedroom apartment. I thought it was so cool because I was a kid from the suburbs. That's all I've seen. That's all I've been exposed to in the city of Cerritos. And all of a sudden, I'm in the thick of downtown LA. All the business, all the action and commerce is going on downstairs. And then I head upstairs, and it's kind of like a tranquil environment. Someone is actually living there with a brick wall there. So when I had that memory, it really didn't faze me until much later. I kind of put 2 and 2 together. And then I'm looking at the work-live lofts that happen to be offered over in SoCo Walk. Residences where there was retail on the ground floor, and then on the second, I think even third floor, you could have a residence there. This sounded like a great novel concept. So you had the Harbor Lofts come out with this, where residents were up against Harbor Boulevard with street frontage there. You had Santiago Lofts in the city of Santa Ana. You had Main Place over in the Santa Ana next to Main Place Mall. And then you have Vantis, which is over in Aliso Viejo with residences upstairs. And you have even retail where you could put signage out front. Then I saw downtown Brea where they had the Brea Street Lofts. So this seemed to be the new thing because it made sense on the surface because a lot of people were working out of home. There was a lot more people having their home business like an Amazon retailer or any kind of web-based business, and they could carry inventory downstairs or even run like a hair salon downstairs or something like that. So small business was on the rise, and of course there was a lot of funding for that, and it seemed like this was the wave of the future. That was back in 2005, and I don't think I've seen anything built since 2012 or so. So what happened to them? Well, there's a few things. Number one, in real estate, it's all about highest and best use. When you're penciling out these projects, having a 3-story, whether it's a 2,000 square foot residence versus even a 1,400 square foot residence, and then you flip that over to a work-live scenario, the work-live scenario had to actually be priced less than the equivalent 3-story townhome. And why is that? The biggest reason is because when you, in essence, have a work-live situation, you're shrinking the buyer pool. If you have just a 3-story building, you could have a family, you could have a single individual, you could have a newly married couple, you could sometimes even have a retiree. But the work-live situation, the downstairs pretty much became an inflexible space. Many of these retail spaces, they have windows across the bottom and intruded on their privacy. So then you threw out pretty much anyone who was not looking to operate a business there. So that shrunken buyer pool resulted in less per square foot. The other thing that has to happen is the practicality of having a work-live kind of residence, and more specifically, retail on the ground floor. Retail on the ground floor requires parking and requires access for your customers to come in. I'll take a good example over here. The Brea Street Lofts happens to be probably the most functional type of environment over in North Orange County. And then, of course, Aliso Viejo has Vantis, where you have functional type of retail spaces on the ground floor, and there's enough parking for the customers to come on by. Places where it didn't necessarily work out, Santiago Street Lofts, and you have the Harbor Lofts especially. Harbor Lofts has street frontage, but then your customers and any visitors have nowhere really to park unless they head down Center Street over to the east, and they have to walk quite a bit to get to the residence, and it kind of ruins the whole point to having any kind of street frontage, because they have to walk all the way around when the parking was back there, and they could have had an entrance back there. So that didn't really work out. Brea Street Lofts, parking is a big commodity, and they have plenty of street parking. They have parking spaces, but then if you look at that project, and if builders were to look at it again, they'd probably opt for just more residences there, because they don't require as much parking. So that's a big part of it. And then just moving forward, every square foot being built for residential use is just a cherished commodity. What's the best way this can work out and maybe pencil out for both the builder and the new homeowner? I look at Brea Street Lofts again. This is probably the only community that I could think of where the HOA allows the work floor or the office space downstairs to be leased out individually. Most of the other HOAs, you have to lease out the entire unit, and that again, it shrinks down your renter pool in that case. But then Brea Street Lofts, I've seen it because those are 3-story residences where it's the retail or office space downstairs, and the second and third floor, it's almost a completely compartmentalized unit where you can have that whole downstairs, and it's large enough with its own restroom. You could just lease it out to a business. And as many in the real estate business knows, retail is one of the highest and best uses for leasing. So you'd be able to live upstairs or even lease that out almost separately. So I've seen them lease out the second and third floors for as much as $3,500 to $4,000 a month, and then downstairs whatever the going rate is for retail. And if there's street frontage, you'd be able to lease it out for even more. So that's the only way I see it working out. But then again, parking becomes the issue. Again, I'm Edwin Baloy of midriseliving.com. Go to my website for more information on work-live residences.